Mrs. Carter sat alone at the table, one empty chair beside her. She put two bowls on the table. Then she stopped. She looked at the second bowl. A long time. After that, she put it back in the cupboard. She said nothing. She just sat there. The kitchen light was soft and a little yellow, the kind of light that gets old with a house. Outside, the wind moved through the plant pots. A dry leaf turned over on the ground, then stopped. She looked at the wooden chair beside her. For a long time, as if she was waiting for someone to sit down in it. But to understand why she looked at that chair like this, we should go back to the normal days of Mrs. Carter, before the house became this quiet. Mrs. Carter lived alone in a small house outside the city. Every morning, she woke up before the sun. She watered the flowers by the door. She swept the yard, even on days when there were almost no leaves to sweep. She did these things slowly, no rush at all. These days, time for her was mostly about filling up each morning with something to do. Her son, Danny, lived far away, in a city more than 500 miles from here. He worked at a big company. His job kept him busy, meetings, more meetings, and trips that took him out of the city for days at a time. He called his mother, but not on any real schedule. Some weeks, once, some weeks, not at all. Every night, even when no one was coming, Mrs. Carter turned on the small light outside her front door, a soft yellow light. It fell over the narrow road that led up to the house. She had done this for years, since the time Danny first left home to study, so that if he ever came back late, he would see that light from far away and know his mother was awake. She never told anyone about this habit. It was small, quiet, the kind of thing no one else would ever notice. Some afternoons, she sat outside and watched the neighbors' kids run down the street. She smiled at them for a while. Then she went back inside, alone. At the market, the woman who sold vegetables always asked the same question. "Any news from your son this week?" Mrs. Carter always answered the same way. "He's busy, but he's well." She said it so many times it started to sound like something she was reading off a card, not something she was feeling. She kept a small notebook by the phone, an old habit from years ago. In it, she wrote down the date. Every time Danny called, nothing else, just a date, written in small, careful numbers. She never told him about the notebook. She was not counting to complain. She just liked to see the days written down, some kind of proof she could hold in her hands, on nights when the house felt too quiet. This house was not always this quiet. She remembered the years when Danny was small very clearly. This little kitchen used to be full of noise, good noise, the kind that fills up a house. Every afternoon, he ran home from school, threw his bag on the chair, and went straight to ask his mother what she was cooking. The smell of her cooking was always the first thing on his mind. That same wooden chair, the one sitting empty now, always had Danny in it back then. He sat there at every meal, legs swinging under the table because he was still too small for his feet to touch the floor. He talked while he ate, about school, about his friends, about a teacher he liked, about small things that meant nothing at all except that he wanted to talk, and his mother was there to listen. She remembered one summer evening in particular. Danny was 12. He finished his food, looked up at her, and said something so simply, like it was the most obvious fact in the world. "I will always come home to eat with you, Mom." She only smiled and touched the top of his head. She did not think much of it at the time. She had no way of knowing that, many years later, that one sentence would become the thing she thought of most, sitting alone at this same table. Those years passed slow and warm. On evenings when Danny's father was still alive, 3 people sat around this table. 3 bowls, 3 sets of forks and knives, the kitchen full of talk and small arguments about whose turn it was to wash the dishes. She remembered the smell of soup on winter nights, the grill going in the backyard every summer, the old ceiling fan turning with that same soft click it always made, one click every few seconds. Like a small clock, nobody wound on purpose. There was a small radio on the shelf back then, one that only caught 2 stations clearly. Danny's father liked to hum along with the songs, badly, off-key, and Danny would laugh at him every single time, no matter how many times he had already heard the joke, "Mrs." Carter would tell them both to stop being so loud at the table, but she never really meant it, and they all knew she did not mean it. But nothing stays the same forever. Danny's father died while Danny was still in college. Then Danny finished school, found a job, and moved to a big city on the other side of the country. A house that once held 3 people now held only Mrs. Carter. At first, Danny called often, 2 or 3 times a week. He talked about his new job, his new city, the people he was meeting. She listened. She asked her usual questions. Was he eating enough? Was he sleeping enough? Was he wearing a coat when it got cold? But his work kept growing, the way work does when no one is watching it closely. Meetings ran late. Trips took him out for a full week at a time. And slowly, so slowly Mrs. Carter almost did not notice it happening. His calls became fewer. Once a week became once every 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks became once a month. Sometimes longer than that. She did not blame him. She only kept count, quietly, in her own head. She noticed the days. She noticed when the phone rang, and it was someone else, not her son. One evening she called him, just to tell him about a new flower that had opened in the yard, a small yellow one she had never planted on purpose. The phone rang. It kept ringing. No one answered. She sat there looking at the screen a moment longer, then set the phone down without leaving a message. She told herself he was probably in a meeting. Another night, the weather turned cold in a way it usually did not that time of year. Mrs. Carter did not feel well. Her head ached a little. Her body felt warm, the kind of warm that comes with a small fever. She got up, put on a coat, and walked by herself to the pharmacy near the house, under street lights that were mostly out except for 2. She did not call Danny. He is busy, she thought. I should not bother him over something this small. The pharmacist, a young woman Mrs. Carter had known since she was a child, noticed the fever right away. "Do you want me to call someone for you?" she asked. "Mrs." Carter shook her head. "No need," she said. "I'll be fine. It's just a small cold." She paid for the medicine, counted her change twice out of habit, and walked back out into the night alone. On the way home, she stopped by a tree she had known for years. She used to lean her bicycle against it when Danny was young. She stood there and breathed slowly, the small bag of medicine in her hand. She looked up. No stars that night, just dark. She stood there a while. She did not cry. She did not say anything. She just stood. The next few days, she stayed in bed longer than usual. She made herself a pot of soup, plain, the way her own mother used to make it for her when she was sick as a girl. She ate it alone at the kitchen table, the empty chair across from her, the spoon making a small sound against the bowl in the quiet room. Her birthday came at the end of that month. She did not prepare much, only a small cake from the store, the kind she bought every year without thinking about it. She put 2 plates on the table out of pure habit. Then she looked at the second one and put it back where it belonged, in the cupboard, behind the other dishes. She sat alone and looked at the empty chair. Her phone sat on the table the whole evening. Quiet. No call came. She was not angry. She sat there a long time, watching the light fall across the empty chair, and she noticed, for the first time really, how big this small house had become. A few days later, cleaning out an old cupboard, she found her old phone, the one she had stopped using years ago, back when it still had a cracked screen and a battery that never lasted. She turned it on, mostly to see if any old pictures were still saved inside it. In the call list, she found a missed call from a long time before. It was not from Danny. It was from her, to an old friend, almost a year earlier. She remembered the day now. She had called because she missed her friend and wanted to hear her voice. The friend had not answered. And afterward, this was the part she had forgotten until just now. She never called back either. Too busy with the house. Assuming the friend was busy too. She sat still, holding the old phone. And there it was. A small plain fact, sitting right in front of her. She had done the same thing herself. She had let a call pass by, telling herself there would be another time, another day. A day that never came, because there is always something else to do first. She put the old phone down and sat quietly in the living room for a long while. Outside, the sky went from blue to gray to almost nothing. She thought about her friend, the one who never got that call back. She wondered if her friend had waited by the phone that day, the way Mrs. Carter now waited for Danny. She wondered if her friend had also decided, after enough silence, that she was probably not wanted anymore. That thought sat heavy in her chest. She had never once thought of herself as someone who could make another person feel forgotten. But there it was, written plainly in an old call list, dated and impossible to argue with. She was not angry at Danny anymore, not the way she had been, quietly, without saying so. She understood something now, that people do not always stop calling because they stop loving someone. Sometimes life just keeps pulling them along, one day after another, until they lose track of how long it has actually been. She picked up her own phone. She opened a new message. She typed slowly, one word at a time, the way she typed everything on that small screen. She did not write much. She did not blame him for anything at all. She wrote only this: "I just want to say I miss you." She looked at those words for a moment. Her finger sat on the send button without pressing it. Then she pressed it. She set the phone down and did not expect much back. But something in her chest felt a little lighter, like she had put down a bag she had been carrying for longer than she realized. That night, in his office, Danny sat under a desk lamp that was still on, even though it was nearly midnight. He had just come out of a long meeting, tired, wanting nothing more than to shut the laptop and sleep. His phone lit up. One message, from his mother. He opened it. He read the short line. He sat there, not moving, the light from the screen the only thing changing in the room. He tried to remember the last time he had called her. He could not land on an exact day. A month, maybe longer than that. He was surprised, in a small, uncomfortable way, that he could not say for certain. He put the phone down on the desk and held his head in both hands for a moment. The office around him, white light, gray walls, the hum of the air conditioner, suddenly felt like the wrong place to be sitting. He opened his calendar. He looked at tomorrow, then the day after. Nothing there that truly could not wait a day or two. He closed the laptop, stood, and walked to the window. Outside, the city kept moving the way it always did. Cars, lights, people who had somewhere to be even this late. He looked out at all of it and saw none of it, really. He was thinking about a small kitchen far from here, a wooden chair, his mother, sitting by herself under a yellow light she turned on for no one in particular. The next morning he asked for 2 days off. He did not call ahead. He bought the earliest bus ticket he could find, packed a few clothes into a bag, and left before he had time to think of a reason not to. The ride took most of the day. He sat by the window and watched fields go by, then small houses, then roads he had known his whole life. Roads that slowly began to look familiar again the closer the bus got to home. When it finally stopped at the top of the road leading to his house, the sun was already low. He got off, bag over one shoulder, and started walking. From a distance, he could already see it, that small yellow light by the front door, still burning, the same as always. Mrs. Carter was outside watering the last of the flower pots for the day. She heard footsteps on the road and looked up, and there he was. Standing at the top of the road, the evening sun behind him so she could barely make out his face at first. She stood still, the watering can still in her hand, water dripping slowly from the spout onto her feet. She did not quite believe what she was seeing. Danny walked toward her quickly. He did not say anything at first. He wrapped his arms around her, a long hug, tight, the kind that tries to make up, all at once, for a lot of missed time. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said. His voice came out rough. "I'm sorry I made you wait this long." She did not say much back. She just patted his back gently, the same way she used to when he was small and had fallen down and needed to be told it was all right. "You're home now," she said quietly. "That's enough." That evening she cooked something simple. Soup, grilled chicken, the same food he had loved since he was a boy. She set 2 plates on the table. This time, neither one went back into the cupboard. Danny sat down in the old wooden chair. the same one he had used since he was small enough for his feet not to reach the floor. It made a small creaking sound under him, a sound Mrs. Carter had not heard in a very long time. They ate together, not talking too much. Small questions here and there. How has he been eating? Is the job too tiring? Is she sleeping all right these days? But underneath the quiet between those questions, something had come back that had not been there in a while. After dinner, they sat outside, under the same yellow light, looking at the road. A cool wind came through, carrying the smell of the flowers she had watered earlier that day. He looked at the light by the door. "You still turn this on every night?" he asked. She nodded. "So if you ever come home, you'll be able to see the way." He did not say anything for a moment. He only reached over and held her hand, thinner than he remembered it being, the skin looser over the knuckles. She showed him the small notebook, the one she kept by the phone. He turned the pages slowly, seeing the dates written in her small handwriting, some weeks close together, some weeks with long gaps between them. He did not say anything about it. He just closed the notebook gently and set it back on the table, and something in his face had changed, though he did not try to explain what. Later that night, before bed, he found the old radio, still sitting on the same shelf, dusty now, unplugged for years. He asked if it still worked. She said she did not know. It had been so long since anyone tried. He plugged it in anyway. After a moment of static, one weak station came through, playing something old and a little scratchy. Neither of them said much. They just sat there and listened, the way they used to, a long time ago. The next morning, before he had to head back, they sat together for one last breakfast. He looked at the chair he was sitting in, then at his mother. "I'll come home more often," he said. "I promise." She smiled and only nodded. She did not need a big promise from him. She only hoped that, now and then, he would remember to call, even a short one. On the bus back to the city, Danny sat by the window again, but this time he was not just watching the fields go by. He kept thinking about the notebook, the dates, the gaps between them. When he got back to his office the next day, he did something small. He set a weekly reminder on his phone, a simple one, just 2 words: "Call Mom." He felt a little foolish setting it, like a grown man should not need a reminder to call his own mother, but he set it anyway, and he did not delete it. A few weeks later, he did call, not for any reason at all, just to check on her. She sat at the table, put the phone on speaker, and kept wiping down the counter while she talked, the way people talk to family, half paying attention to the conversation and half paying attention to the dishes. The wooden chair beside her sat empty again. No one in it, not right now. But it did not feel empty anymore, not the way it used to. When they finished talking, she set the phone down beside the empty plate on the table, the one she no longer bothered to put away. Outside, the small yellow light was still on, though the sun had not even set yet. Some habits, she was learning, did not need a reason anymore. They just stayed, quietly, the way love does. Maybe there is someone out there right now, waiting on a call from you, not asking for much, just a little of your time. Call them today. The chair was not empty anymore.